Johnny, could you tell me about Car and Classic while being attacked by ducks?
Car and Classic is Europe's biggest classic sales site with over 35,000 cars and bikes for sale at any time. And now they do online auctions where you can get professional photos, a detailed write-up, a secure payment service, and the chance to get your classic in front of 4 million monthly visitors. And all of Car and Classic seller fees are only payable when your car actually sells.
Excellent, thanks. Smith & Sniff is sponsored by Car and Classic.
The big ones just got me in the eggs.
I'm Richard Porter.
I'm Johnny Smith.
And this is Smith & Sniff, a podcast in which two friends talk about cars and many other things.
Hey, I know I started talking about music on a previous podcast because there's usually just a song in my head in the morning. I'm just pouring my coffee.
Yeah.
You know that Lionel Richie song, What a Feeling When We're Dancing on the Ceiling?
Yes.
Now, I have a slight issue with that song. It's a sort of party song, right?
Yeah.
It's a party scenario song. Right at the beginning, when the intro's doing its thing with the keyboards and that, do you remember Lionel Richie goes, "Whoa"? Do you remember that?
Well, I don't know. I feel like Lionel Richie does that all the time.
Oh,
so
he might do it in every one of his songs, but I don't recall.
He just does it in his everyday life as well.
Oh, he kicks open the bathroom door.
Oh, we've got your dry cleaning for you, Mr. Richie. Woo! It's just what he does. I don't know. But
the only reason why I've brought that up is because I think the woo is so embarrassing. It's instantly embarrassing to the point where if you're in a party, everyone would look the other way and make small chat and go, shit, don't go near him. He's one of them.
What, too loud in the context?
Yeah, it was really loud and the party wasn't quite going yet.
Yeah.
And
again, it's like people, there's usually a particular sort of man who does a kind of yes with a fist clench pullback, you know, a Tim Henman style.
Oh, a Henman,
Is
yeah.
it Tim Henman or the other one? It's a Henman, isn't it?
No, it's a Henman. It's a Henman.
Where you go, yes, like that, but it's about something like, we've got your dry cleaning for you. Yes, I win again. Yeah, that kind of guy. It's like, just can't take it down a notch or two.
I win again. Maybe
You're
that's
a
what it
total
is.
Prick. Yes, I am.
Maybe Lionel Richie was doing a couple of lotto scratch cards when they'd already started rolling. They'd already started rolling the song. And he just went, shit, I've just won 12 quid. Yes. And everyone was like, seriously? And they was like, just go with it, go with it. Just go with it. It's a Mardi Gras scenario. Go with it. It just sounds euphoric.
They just came in with a talkback and went, Lionel, yeah, C&A have been on the phone. They've got those trousers you ordered. Woo!
What, the ones with the woven fleck that look like,
Yes.
you know, the ones where they use them in fish lures to in the fishing world, so that when the lure turns and when they're dragging it in, it makes that flash of silver. And it attracts a larger fish because it thinks it's an injured small fish that's easy pickings. So basically, Lionel Richie has 80s fish lure trousers.
Oh, shitting heck. You know, we've talked before about how in the late 90s, early 2000s, that the world leaders in chenille jumpers were Next.
Yeah,
And
yes.
I know this because I used to work there.
Because you worked there.
But if you wanted a chenille jumper, get yourself down to Next. They got chenille. Well,
Yeah.
let me tell you, we're looking for a new armchair. One of those small ones that sort of slots into a little space. Just we've got a little space that needs filling up, and also it'd be nice to sit in it. Looking at armchairs,
Right.
and my wife went, "Oh, Next at home do some quite all right furniture now. You should get on there." I was like, "I will. I'll have a little look." And they've got fucking chenille armchairs.
Have they?
Yeah.
Chenille
Hi,
armchair.
I'm Chenille Armchairs. Welcome
you-
to QBC News.
Did you buy one? You did, didn't you?
No, I didn't. I was going to say to my wife, should we get a chenille? And I thought, no, she won't go for it. Because I'd quite fancy a chenille. I mean, it's very soft, isn't it, chenille?
It's very soft. My son loves a bit of chenille.
Well, if his birthday is coming up, I think what young boy wouldn't want a chenille armchair?
But not a large one, right? A small one that can go in a small space.
They do some quite big ones as well. I mean, I was specifically looking at small armchairs. You know those sort of like 3/4 scale armchairs that just
They used to
sort
call them telephone chairs, didn't they?
Maybe. I don't know. Telephone tables were a thing.
Oh, they were. My auntie had one. In fact, I think she's still got one. It's brilliant.
Well,
It's brilliant. If listeners are going, what the hell is a telephone table?
What the hell is a telephone?
It was like
Right, I see.
well, it was obviously a days a landline when you were anchored to a spot in the house to answer the phone and couldn't deviate unless you had one of those long leads like Roseanne Barr did. And then...
Yes, she did.
Remember, Roseanne?
No, but I think Americans had those generally.
Yeah, well, my dad used to refer to it as the Roseanne lead because he bought a really long extension lead for the telephone and was very proud of it. And you could walk around the whole house. You could walk around the whole house like 3 times and there'd just be leads everywhere. And it would...
Your mum was tied to the wall between the sitting room and the hall.
Honestly, people that haven't grown up with landlines, this is all so far away from what you understand.
We might as well be describing the War of the Roses.
Yes.
In the first person, for fuck's sake. I mean, but yes, back when telephones were generally tethered to the wall, all manner of... Because there were 2 options there, because you got your Roseanne cord, which is a sort of 9-kilometre curly cord.
Yes.
And then... Didn't some people have a very long cord from wall to base unit, and then you could walk around holding the base unit in one hand and the handset clamped to your head?
Yes, you could. You're absolutely
It's quite an
right.
American cop show look, I think.
It was, because you'd have your fingers inside that flange. I know that sounds wrong, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
There was a flange on the telephone.
Hand flange.
Wasn't there?
Yeah. Designed for that,
cop
I suppose,
shows.
for moving
Basically,
the phone around, yeah.
for pacing left and right. Usually you'd have a cigarette in your mouth and you hadn't taken it out yet, so it was just puffing everywhere. And you were wearing a polyester suit for no given reason.
Because it was cool as fuck at the time. Well, now, since we've cantered down this cul-de-sac of nostalgia, this reminds me of something that I was... Because I can picture perfectly in my mind's eye my parents' telephone table and the little stool, not a chair, but a little stool that sat by the telephone table.
Oh. And did the stool have an opening lid where you could keep telephone books in?
It did not, because the telephone table had a shelf underneath it for that purpose.
Very good.
Yeah.
Whatever.
So
the death of the telephone table, I am now mourning.
Yeah, there's not much call for it, is there? So, I mean, I suppose you could still have one that you just chucked your mobile on when you got in, but it's not the same, is it?
Well, you could use it as hot desking. You could have it as a laptop table. Could be a micro desk.
I suppose the people who don't remember this, the generation that grew up with cordless and then mobile phones, but you do get a sense of what it was like to have a phone tethered to the wall if you ever need to use your phone while it's plugged in charging.
Yes.
Particularly if it's as an outlet that's down at sort of ankle height and you've got to sort of lie on the floor.
Oh, that's
like you're doing some kind of really shit Bikram yoga.
Yes, it is like that, isn't it? People will have done that in hotels probably, because you will have got into your hotel and your phone's on its arse. And then hotels have a knack of putting the sockets in the worst places. So you have to pull some of the furniture away. And then you find yourself lying down in the corner of a room.
You can tell how recently a hotel was refurbished or built. If it doesn't have plug sockets by the bedside tables, you know that room hasn't been given a serious refresh over in 20 years.
Correct.
And that you have to pull out a bedside table to find a socket. But it turns out it's one of those really weird round 3-pin ones that they put on hotel lamps for some reason or other that I've never figured out.
Is it so people don't nick the lamps? Because then they've got, well, I can't plug it in at home, so I'm not going to steal it.
Yeah. No, well, I've had my house rewired with hotel spec plugs, so suck on that, Hilton Group.
I stole a load of hotel plugs.
Yeah, I've got lamps everywhere.
Well, no, okay.
All hotel spec.
Now,
but that's, it's when you're in a hotel room where the only accessible a proper 3-pin socket is on the other side of the room from the bed on the floor, but you need your phone to have an alarm on it. And in a way, it's quite good for getting you out of bed.
Yeah, I dig that. I think that's really effective, because the alarm will go off and you will not ignore it and you will get out of bed. Now, I'm not a going back to bed guy once that's gone off. Some people are going back to bed.
Well, you can't. That's dangerous, isn't it?
It's lethal.
It's just too dangerous. So, also, in our sort of line of work, the chances are you're in a hotel because you're on a shoot. So your call time is going to be 5:45.
Yep.
And you can't fanny about. You've got to get up and get gone. But
yeah, you don't want to be the guy that everybody stood at the door going, "Hello, are you okay?" And you realise you're in a great dream.
Equally, when you've got a very early call time, and you actually wake up before your alarm goes off because there's something in your subconscious has gone, early start tomorrow. Tell you what, I'll get the party started extra early for you. Thanks.
Oh, yeah. What, did Lionel Richie come in your room and do a big woo?
Yeah, just go, woo, and then leave again.
Yeah, but he tripped over a plug charger on the way out.
Yeah.
And a very low one. And he's clattered out the door with his shiny trousers on. Fish lure trousers.
Gets attacked by a school of hake in the hallway. No, but your alarm, if you get up, so you go, oh fuck, I'm awake, I might as well get up and get a shower because I've got to get gone. But then you don't want to become that person in a hotel, particularly a budget hotel with quite thin walls, whose alarm goes off while you're in the shower.
Oh gosh,
because there's nothing more vexing than from the room next door that kind of.
Oh, yeah.
There's that alarm on iPhones that sounds a bit like Smoke on the Water, but it's not.
I know exactly what you mean. I've heard one, or a very vicious harp solo. I've been woken up by one of those, and it escalates in volume to the point where the harp is.
Is there an aggressively Welsh person in the room next door, or is it just a fucking iPhone alarm?
Honestly, I've heard that, and it went on for a long time, a very long time.
Yeah, because they're in the shower, because they've got up early, because their brain's gone, morning, woo, and then off you go. But how do we get here?
I don't know how we got here. I can't remember. Or I was supposed to go in a different direction with this, because I've got. I mean, how much time have you got, Richard? I've got quite a lot of intel from my most recent auto jumble experience.
Oh my God,
my brother Greg.
I totally forgot that and this was my number one priority, was to ask you about the auto jumble. So, how was it?
Like I just said, how much time have you got?
Let's try and keep this to a tight 50 minutes, but go for it.
Okay, right. I went to an auto jumble on Sunday morning. I got back from a shoot at midnight in mid-Wales, so I was a tired man, but I didn't want to let my brother down because I have a habit of sometimes cancelling on him at the last minute, and he calls me a flake. So I didn't want that to be a repeat. So I said, okay. So he picked me up at 6. Early start for these things, remember, especially if you're a trader. Yeah. You've got to get your tarp out early and your spot. So he picked me up in the Golf TDI, and I said, can I just have a bit more sleep? So about 3/4 of an hour's journey. So I just got in the back and fell asleep for a while. Got there, and he did warn me. He said, you're going to see a lot of people today. You're going to see a lot of bad hair, and you're going to see a lot of people that brush their teeth with Lucozade and cat mess. So I said, okay, right. Okay, so I've written down some of my observations. Mm-hmm. There's a combination of people and situations. I went off for a little walk once Greg had set up the stall with my nephew, because my nephew came with us, Oscar, and he's been to quite a few, so he's a bit better rehearsed than me. I tried to say to him that your dad and I used to go to these before the internet, so you couldn't just go on eBay and go, oh look, I really want a 1930s RAC badge. Click, oh there it is, I've just bought it. I said, if you were looking for a 1930s RAC badge, you went to these sorts of events and you just combed through it, and you get the odd guy who's a little bit socially awkward walking around with a chalkboard A-frame on himself which said wanted matchless engine parts 1950 to 1960.
I've forgotten about that.
And they'd want people to tap them on the shoulder and say, oh yeah, I've got a load of bits from that motorbike, do you want to buy them? And he'd go, maybe, but I'll come around your house and I'll bore you first. So so there's that. But all the stalls were out, and there's a combination of actual car and motorbike stuff, parts being sold, and then there's your sort of cut price tools, and also, I don't know, a huge abundance of Chinese nitrile gloves, I realised as well, a huge amount. We went to a stall, and I noticed there was a guy wearing what looked like a really flammable old motocross jacket. It was red, and extremely sort of puffy with white stripes on. But then he became nicknamed Captain Bootcut because I looked down and he had the most bootcutty of jeans.
Oh,
and he was doing a roaring trade in old swords and Zulu spears that are obviously from a dead.
what the?
Seriously.
Had he gone to the wrong event?
Well, this is what, because my nephew was looking at one of these spears because he was fascinated by them. It just looked like he'd gone to the Natural History Museum and just filled your coat. So we were looking at that, but the thing when we did a quick sweep and we went past a Luton body van selling loads of old office equipment, and military surplus kind of drawer units and stuff and garage benches. Yeah. But there was this huge glass fibre minstrel stood there. It must have been about 8 feet tall. And I was just like, what? Who's going to buy that? Why would you go to an event and buy a minstrel statue? It's very, very odd. So my brother, because it was quite near to my brother, when we went back to his stall, he had 2 things to report to me. One of them was vulgar, and one of them was, he said, "Did you ask how much the minstrel statue was?" And I said, "No, because A, I don't want it, and B, I just not interested." So he went and asked for it, and the guy said, no, it's not for sale, mate." and Greg was like, but why have you bought it? 'Cause it's actually quite a big, cumbersome thing.
Yeah.
It's just there. It's just there. I guess is it to lure the crowds in? I just don't know. I honestly don't know. But what I do know is he said, I've already sold a couple of things, guys. Greg was very happy. Sold a couple of those old Esso fuel cans. And the lady said, I don't suppose you've got a bag of you. And Greg looked around, and when we pulled up at our plot, there was this large orange, I think it was a Sainsbury's bag for life. And he said, I'll just go and get this bag. This bag's here. I'll just go and get it. And he went and picked it up, and it felt a bit of weight in it, and looked in, and to his horror, his face said it all. He said, I was about to give this woman a bag for life, and I realised it had not just shit in it, but actual human shit with wet wipes and toilet paper. So he said someone had coiled into a bag for life and then just left it.
Oh my God.
I know.
But
in the middle of an auto
during the event.
Well, I really hope not. I mean, it was quite close to a couple of dodgy-looking vans, but anyway, he was horrified.
Come and do they let you come and sort of camp out the night before?
I don't know if you're allowed. I mean, some of the hardcore do, because there were some people that came a long way. Some people came from right up in the northeast and right up in Lancashire, and you've got to want to do this. It was actually that bag for life, bag of shite for life, as we called it, was very close to a chap in an LDV pilot who we unanimously decided looked like a character from The Dark Crystal, if you remember that Jim Henson film.
Yes.
So you imagine a character from The Dark Crystal driving quite a shabby LDV pilot van. That was him. But even more impressive was our
There's not so much money in the old Dark Crystal business these days, so,
doing a bit of auto jumbling. Yeah. The chap next to us, in the plot next to us, he was selling sort of like cheap panel wipe and terps and like aerosols of matte black paint, that kind of thing. Uh-huh. But we noticed after he pitched up, so we're talking at 7 a.m. here, right? He had a family bottle of Coca-Cola, and he cracked open the lid, and he had about a third of it straight off. But then he opened a packet of Reese's Pieces and started eating them. And you're thinking, this is breakfast. This is breakfast, Richard. This is before 7 a.m.
Yeah. That's quite an intense breakfast. Where are you going from there except just spooning icing sugar into your mouth with a ladle?
Exactly. So a couple of tables down from Captain Bootcut, we came across this fascinating thing, which was a guy who was riding quite erratically on a a sort of Chinese chromed up mobility trike, but it had a Ford Escort seat bolted onto it. So it had a really huge seat. And a really large seat, which made it quite top heavy, in my opinion. And he was herring around and trying to vacuum up as many bargains as possible.
Yeah.
And what we did notice actually is Captain Bootcut, besides selling the Zulu spears, he also had, and this was you don't know what you're going to get at an auto jumble. He had a huge model boat, probably a 1.5 meters long, I'm going to say, made of matchsticks. But someone had actually scuppered it. It had a hole in its hull about the size of a fist, like someone had had a rage with it and then punched it. And I just couldn't work out whether it was a great thing to buy or an awful thing to buy. So we were staring at that. And then we saw probably the two funniest guys. My brother instantly named them Grand Wizard and 70s Roadie. So Grand Wizard definitely looked like he was from the Ku Klux Klan, but probably from, I don't know, Yorkshire instead of America. So he was walking around with 70s Roadie guy, who did have a leather waistcoat on. Bear in mind it was really, really cold in the morning and a bit windswept. Yeah, these two guys were looking, and they came up to Greg's stall, and Greg's quite chatty with them. He said, "Oh, morning, gents. How are you? How are you? What sort of thing are you looking for?" And they both just went, "Oh, I don't know what I'm looking for." And Greg was like, "What? So you got no idea what parts you're looking for at the auto jumble?" They went, "No, just looking for stuff that's interesting." So my brother just started trying to sell them anything.
Hey guys, do you know what's interesting? A distributor for a VW Jetta.
Yeah, oh yeah, we had all of that. We had all of that. There were things like people selling broken trolley jacks. So you're like, so you think,
what earthly use could you have for a broken trolley jack?
Well, I mean, is this for life's risk takers? You go, what could possibly go wrong? I've got a 2-ton trolley jack that's a bit broken. Ooh.
It's broken. So, anyone want a broken parachute? Broken parachute, lads. Ooh. Broken life support machine. Anyone? It's just some things.
Honestly,
need to be thrown away.
Those needed to be thrown away. I've just written.
I think upcycling and recycling is fabulous, but there is a limit.
Yeah, there is.
The limit is a broken trolley jack.
Well, you had everything. Honestly, Richard, you had everything. You had a new old stock box of really terrifyingly scary old marionette puppets right next to some immaculate Foden truck badges, and I was just like, it was wrecking my head with how weird the place was. It was fascinating. You would have loved.
I'm starting to think that the police should just go into an auto jumble and arrest everybody. Because they're going to find something. I mean, who's taking a box of marionettes to a frigging auto jumble?
They were there.
Is it a cry for help? Is he signalling somebody?
They were there.
Is it code?
They were there.
This is deranged.
I know it was. Well, there was a lot, because it was first thing in the morning, of course. And definitely a type of guy there. I probably saw 4 women. It was a type
you don't say. Yeah. Was David Gandy there? Brad Pitt?
Yes.
That bloke out of the 1975, were they all hanging out going, oh, look, there's some marionettes. I'll get those after I've bought this fucking master cylinder for an ITAL.
Yeah, David Gandy was like, I could have gone to the Goodwood Breakfast Club. No, I'm going to come here. I think this is much better. Because you get things like, there was genuinely a Confederate flag flying from a Bedford CF2. That was about 8 foot square, but it had a pirate skeleton in the middle with pirate swords, and that confused us because we were like, "Hang on, is this like Pirates of the Confederacy? What is this a film that I'm not aware of?"
Film that Disney passed on for various reasons.
Yeah, I just
the script was solid, but the racism.
So we had that, and we had a chap that looked like a chap that walked towards us, and we all did that. You know, when you look at someone and then you look at your friend who you know might corpse. We did that, and then he went by, and there was just something about him that was extremely odd. And my brother was like, "What's going on with that guy?" And I went, "He looked like He looked like Paul Young, who'd been viciously attacked by a hive of wasps, a nest of wasps. So you have this huge sort of swell reaction.
Anaphylactic Paul Young.
Yes, honestly.
Somebody get an EpiPen. He's due to do wherever I lay my hat in 5 minutes on the main stage.
Seriously, it was EpiPen Paul Young. It was amazing.
It's almost like a party trick. He'd turn up and he'd go, "Ooh, you think I look a bit like Paul Young? Watch this." Dunk, EpiPen in the thigh. It's like he shrink wraps back down to normal Paul Young scale, and then you can go, "See, ta-da, it's me."
My nephew,
I'm the kind of guy who not ready.
My nephew said it brilliantly. There was a certain smell around the place, and he said, "Dad, this place is full of red meat ghosting." I know, and I said, "What?" He said, "Oh, it's full of. There's so much red meat ghosting going on around the pasting tables." And I just like, "What do you mean?" He went, "Well, like you let a guff out and then you just drag it around, and it's very very meaty." So I went, "Oh, the poulassu," and he started laughing at the poulassu, whereas I, for the rest of the day, was referring to red meat ghosting, which just
crop dusting.
Yeah, is that what you call it?
That's quite a well-known thing, isn't it? It's crop dusting.
I've never heard that.
Yeah.
Okay, so there was a lot of that going on. And the first and about 3 stalls down from us, and I think I sent you a photo, because I did take 2 or 3 very covert photos. A chap selling model steam engines, which we know have a history of being a little bit on the wrong side. But also just overtly selling 70s adult material inside a huge lever arch folder which just said adults only written on it.
In lever arch files?
Yes. Yeah,
he's catalogued 70s grot.
Yes, honestly. And he had this illuminating sign, which I'm guessing was for sale, which said Soho Girls, and it had a silhouette of a lady lying down.
Oh my God.
Like a review show kind of vibe. And he was selling 70s Mamod, 70s adult material and these little Mamod miniature steam engines. And I think he sold quite a few actually. So it was
dirty bastard.
I know. Proper.
Not the grot, I mean the steam engines, obviously.
Yeah, the steam engine with the grot was just...
Geez, there could have been kiddies there.
It's so true. But, and then what we did is we had a very, very heavy pastry lunch coma because I couldn't find anything to eat that looked palatable, apart from there was this bakery that turned up and had an amazing spread. So I bought everyone lots of pastry. And then an apple strudel for dessert, which is also pastry, as you know.
Yeah.
And they had this huge coma. Then, unfortunately, I had to visit the toilet, which...
oh, my God.
All I can say is high-vis urinal trough. That's all I'm going to say. High-vis.
Oh, I see what you mean,
Yeah,
right. Because everybody was so dehydrated.
Oh, there's not enough hydration. No one drinks water at this event.
No, they're water refusers.
They are absolute water refusers. It's...
H2 agnostics.
Oh, completely. It's if the only water you take on board is in strong tea, 2 bags, a 2-bag tea. So honestly,
even then, you have 6 sugars and a ladle of sand in there just to make sure it's not too hydrating.
Honestly, yeah, and I feel quite proud of myself that I didn't buy anything.
Didn't you?
Did not buy anything. No, I was really...
You weren't tempted by a box of marionettes and some retro grot?
I was. Not by the marionettes. But, yeah, no, I was. Well, I saw...
But some nostalgic bongo mags, which have got, let's be honest, people's grandparents in them.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that is weird when you analyse it like that, isn't it? Gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I didn't buy any of
true.
that.
Your 1971 copy of Razzle has potentially features someone who is now in their 70s or even older. Who knows?
Or even older. I know, it's a little bit terrifying. And I
Imagine that, just going, oh, look, that's your gran. What? Yeah, in this copy of Knave from 1973.
Or
even, just going, look, isn't that your mum on the front of Custom Car magazine with her waps out next to a metal flake Capri?
Yeah, it's so true, though, isn't it? But some people look back at that and they go, because I've interviewed a couple of women who are like models, glamour models and like grid girls from days of old, and they said, well, if I had it, so I flaunted it, and I'm really glad I did, because it's a moment in time, and now I wouldn't do that now, but I can look back and go, I did it was great fun, had a good time. So I guess it could be quite diplomatic.
I hadn't thought of it like that, but I suppose if you looked amazing at one point in your youth, then yes, why not have photographic record? I mean, I might keep my pants on if I was going to do it, but
well, you could say to Sharon Stone, "Oh, do you remember that thing you did? Remember that film you did where you?"
She'd go, people queued up to have a look at my. So
so therefore,
think on.
I wouldn't do it now.
Did they do that for you? I don't think they did. Yeah,
but that was 38 years ago, so it's okay.
Yeah. So now I just spend my time going to autojumbles in Lincolnshire because I find it more rewarding.
I'd love to. I did actually say to Greg, I said that there's really no. This is not a place for a. It's not a place for a woman, I don't think. It's not also a place. It's not. Although my brother did sell 3 of his paraffin cans to a lady who, it turns out, had a stall herself about 3 rows down, and she bought them off him for 12 notes each, and immediately put them up for sale for about 40 because we just walked past. Yeah, and she had an interesting van. She had a van that was jet black, high roof Sprinter, and it caught my eye because it had a massive airbrushed mural of 2 huskies howling at the moon on the side of it. And it did. Of course it did. But even better than that, so when we went round the side and one of the sliding doors was open, she actually had 2 gigantic huskies in the van with her. So there were murals of her own huskies, I presume. And she was a husky.
Did she have a hairy fleece?
She did have quite a big fleece on. Yeah, it was a dark fleece.
Hairy fleece.
It was a
dog person fleece.
Oh, it was a massive dog fleece. But she just sold retro oil cans and canisters and stuff like that. That was her game.
She totally scalps your brother.
Yeah, my nephew was like, "Oh, she's ripped us off," and I said, "No, not really," because Greg was happy with that sale, and this woman specialises in only old school tin cans and stuff like that. So she's probably going to paint them up. All the other ones she had were like restored. So I said she'll just take them back. She'll just restore them and then sell them for higher dollar. But that's the way of commerce, right? So don't worry about it. Look, there's Wasp Attack Paul Young. Let's follow him. Yeah. And so it was a
Wherever
really.
I lay my hat, that's on a wasp stand.
It's so true. There was also a spooky amount of people wanting to buy and running around in, like, semi-broken and twisted, cheap, like no-name 2-stroke quads, and those little GoPed type things. There were loads of them, but yet they ultimately didn't go any faster than a walk. So, like, well, why are you burning fuel to get no exhilaration out of this at all? It's just totally pointless. You might as well just run. But maybe they can't run.
Is it? Yeah, might be. Is it because they needed to help getting around, or is it just laziness?
I think it's
just because it's.
I think it's just.
I mean, how big's the site? Is it really big, this autojumble?
No, it's not. It used to be huge. It's not like Bewley. It's not that big. You could. It would be, I don't know, 2 rugby pitches. You don't need a 2-stroke no-name moped to go around on. But by the time you've seen a bargain in the corner of your eye, you've had to stop the moped, kick the stand down, get off it, rummage around in a box and go, that's unfortunate. It's not what I was looking for. I was looking for a, I don't know, insert the name of a rubbish car that nobody wants. And then, oh no, I'll get back on my moped. Then it won't start, of course, because you've shut it off when it was hot or something, and now it won't hot start.
Yeah.
So you just there go, oh. Do you know what? Should I just leave it here? I think I'll just leave it here and go and get a pastry and go to the toilet. So yeah, there was a lot of red meat ghosting. There was an awful lot of interesting looking people. Very, very few women. And
I'm quite surprised you resisted the temptation to buy stuff, because
I rummaged around in some of the baskets. There's some guys who just do the basket, the lucky dip. So lots of big boxes and baskets, which just says 50p anything. And I rummaged around.
Good. It's a Speedo cable for a princess, just what I don't need.
Well, I had a quick rummage, because those are always my favourites. I found a mini 1275 GT horn push for 50p. And I was with my nephew.
I'd probably bought that just for shits and giggles.
Well,
I'm quite shocked that you didn't.
Well, so I was with my nephew and I turned to him and I said, Oscar, have you got a quid on you? And he went, yeah. I said, buy that now. He goes, oh, I don't need it. I said, trust your uncle. Buy it now. So he bought it, and while we were rummaging, he saw a Datsun 120Y badge as well. So I said, well, the other 50p, so you got a quid's worth of car badge, right? Great. Yeah. I said, we walked back round to our tarpaulin. And by the way, the bag of shit for life was next to us all day. I actually ate my lunch next to it. I don't know why I did that.
Oh, my God.
We put the Mini 1275 GT badge on the tarp because my brother was selling a lot of pre-war car parts. And I said we needed some slightly more modern Magpie material to bring the punters in. I said, you've got to have some Magpie shine. Put the 1275 GT on there. Within 45 minutes, had a guy pick it up and go, how much on flat? I went, I don't know, £6. And he went, yeah. So there you go. Just gave me £6, and I said to Oscar, there you go. And he went, that's amazing. Because he's 16. He goes, that's amazing. I went, yeah, but we could do that all day here if we were really on it, rather than just laughing at miniature steam engines and adult material. We could actually. It
sounds like young Oscar has had a canter through the giddy heights of capitalism at this auto jumble.
Yeah, you stick with Uncle Johnny. He'll show you the world of commerce. Oh yeah, you stick with him. So
like a shit Alan Sugar.
Yeah, I'm an auto jumble Alan Sugar. Yeah, you with the Algal Bedford CF with a Confederate flag on it. I told you what to go to the show and all that, and to show people how to do e-commerce.
Oscar, you had a mini badge, but a maxi profit. I'm impressed. Thanks, Amsgags. And so on.
In fact, I'd very much like Dragon's Den to do an episode at a grubby auto jumble. I think it would be amazing. They turn up in immaculate suits and blouses.
Yeah.
With nails done and stuff, and go, right,
imagine.
Have you brought a tarpaulin? No. Right, you're going to be selling a load of
duvet cover.
Yeah, has one of you got like a white marker or a Sharpie pen? No. Right. Has anyone brought any food? No. Right, you're going to be eating some standard food all day. Good luck with that. Anyone got a Confederate pirate flag that they want to hang off the van to show the world where you are? Yeah. Okay. What the other thing was, there was quite a lot of dogs. I'll end this now, but quite a lot of bad dogs.
Bad dogs?
Yeah, and my brother thought that it's like, bloody hell, can you hear that? That's a dog that's got a really awful cough that was sort of in the next row.
Oh. Like low-quality dogs, like malfunctioning dogs?
Just dogs that just look... I mean, I saw a greyhound wearing a puffer jacket. I mean, like, what's that about?
Well, but you have to put coats on greyhounds in cold weather because they get cold because they're so skinny.
Is it like a hot water jacket for your in your loft?
No, I don't think you have to go that far, but you just need to look after them a bit more because they're just skin and bone, aren't they?
All right, so maybe I'm just picking on it then. It just seemed a bit odd.
Well, you just thought it was a really towny greyhound. That
I did think it was a towny.
The fucking greyhound's going to start smoking in a minute. I bet it's doing like little gas canisters around the back of a van.
Oh yeah,
urban greyhound.
Oh, that actually, you've reminded me. There was a distinct lack of vaping, even though there was some stalls just selling sort of knockoff vapey stuff. It was still, the auto jumble world still favours the old school smoke. The tab is still king. There's a lot of tabbing going on. And we saw quite a lot of ember shielding, which we probably haven't talked about for a while on this podcast, where you the underarm smoking, or whatever we used to call it, where you...
Yeah.
How would you describe this? What is it called?
Kind of, because so essentially you're sort of using your palm...
The cig is inside the hand.
The cigarette between your thumb and your index finger, but then the body of the cigarette then goes into a nice little shelter
enclave
made by your hand.
It's a fleshy enclave.
It's inclement weather smoking, so that the cigarette doesn't get wet.
That's exactly what it is. AKA...
But some people, I think, sort of do it reflexively, almost like it's, it's also partly a hangover from trying to pretend you're not smoking when, a figure of authority comes by.
My brother said, there's a lot of guys here that are talking the smoke out. And I thought that was a really good line.
Yeah, it's dragoning.
Is that what it is?
Well, no, I don't know. I just thought of that. But it's what I always thought it looks like. It looks like you're a dragon. You're basically, you can't help it. It's just your mouth smokes when you speak.
That's right. So instead of blowing out and then carrying on your sentence, you're just talking it out. It's just flowing out. And yeah, there was a load of that going on.
But I think you're missing a sort of raconteur trick there, because really part of the joy of smoking, and don't smoke, kids, it's very bad for you, but part of the joy of smoking is being able to sort of use smoking as a prop to illustrate your point. So when someone goes, would you pay 1,500 quid for that escort van over there? You go, probably not. And it's just, you use the exhale as if you're giving it real thought, like you're a...
So it's it's sort of comedy timing punctuation in some ways.
Yeah. Whereas if you just talk out the smoke, it's almost like you're not compartmentalising the things that you're doing with your mouth, and I feel like that's a wasted opportunity.
Did I forward you those images I took of the algal transits together? Because I only took about...
No.
Oh, okay. So I did take a couple of photos. I might have taken one of the Grand Wizard, actually, talking at my brother. Oh, and there was a guy that turned up. Oh, yeah, I've just got it now. Guy turned up in a Fiat Doblo van to pick up something very heavy that he'd bought that probably he didn't need. And as he pulled up opposite our stand and opened the back doors, on the back door in a huge sign which looked like sort of motorway maintenance, but it said Owl Rescue.
Owl Rescue?
Honestly, I've got a photo of it. It just said Owl Rescue. So was it an owl rescuing van? I don't know. So it's just as weird as it sounds. So I took a picture of two Owl Rescue.
What do you do? Dial 999. There you go. Which service you require? Owl Rescue, please. Certainly. Don't worry, sir.
Is it like Chris Packham's answer to
near
Ghostbusters?
MOT failed Fiat Doblo's on its way.
It's Chris Packham does Ghostbusters, basically. So yeah, so that was there, and then there were these guys that were doing number plates and bin numbers. I'm going to say wheelie bin numbers and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
And they had a Merc Sprinter Luton body, and I've actually taken a photograph of this. And on the bonnet was an airbrushed AMG V12, right?
What?
But it had been airbrushed like it was bursting out of the bonnet of the Sprinter. I kid you not. Someone had gone to great effort.
Oh my God.
But better still, on the front of the van, with like a sort of moody sky that had been airbrushed on and like a thunderstrike, it said Midnight Cruisers. It was really, really good. It was Midnight Cruisers. That's what it was all about. So yeah, we had a really good time, and I fell asleep in the car after my pastry coma. I didn't buy any adult material. I didn't buy any marionettes. I didn't buy any mini Metro mud flaps or any of the other myriad of things that we were offered. I did take the picture of an very algal transit van next to a Mark III, so a Mark II and a Mark III together. And we didn't go home with a bag of shit for life. So all in all, a very, very...
Didn't accidentally pack it into your brother's trailer at the end of the day.
No, I didn't. But I was looking at auto-jumble clothes because I know you were saying, would you be able to wear auto-jumble clothes? There's a lot of kind of free tradesman gear kicking about. I saw at least 3 juice and beanie hats. And you're like, that's just too much of a coincidence. 3 juice and beanies. So there's that. You spend, a minimum of 12 quid in juicens and they give you a black beanie hat? I don't know.
I don't know.
No, I don't. And I didn't ask.
I haven't been in a juicing for a long time.
No.
So.
No, me neither. So there was lots of combinations of sort of boiler suit with army surplus, and I'm going to say no-name motorcycle gear because kind of like it looked like a motorcycle leather top, racing top, but it had tribal tats and just random stars on it, but no names of any racing teams that you would recognise, no sponsors that you'd recognise. So it sort of didn't quite make sense.
Good. Was much in the way of extremely wiry, long grey hair.
Oh my gosh!
Either beard or head hair.
I mean, that's the thing. I could have gone on about the auto jumble hair for ages. There was everything. There was Dark Crystal. There was Grand Wizard. There was honestly there was and there was also bad modern rocker styles. You can imagine those with the sort of ducktail side combs, and there was loads.
You know I think someone whose hair would have fitted in well to an auto jumble, I'm imagining, would have been OK. Guitarist.
Oh, yeah, he would have been. Guitar Man Falls Off Chair.
He's got good sort of rocker hair, but I feel like that could be ported over to an auto jumble without fuss.
That is perfect. He had auto jumbly hair. Definitely, he would have probably been cruising around on maybe a quad that was slightly bent from a previous incident, so it was crabbing a little, and the carburation simply wasn't right.
In the car park, were there interesting cars, or is it a lot of these? It's like people who have classic cars often have they have a relatively modern daily, which is a kind of early 2000s-y.
I was going to say it's always 20 years old, so it'd be a 51 plate, 52.
Yeah.
Well, I saw. Let me think what I saw. Oh, Suzuki Wagon-R saw at least one of those. They were all in bad condition and not washed. These are not people that are interested in washing themselves, let alone the car. No offence to anybody.
Yeah.
Obviously. So,
but I always think they're sort of the kind of people who they've got a Daewoo Lanos and they absolutely do not care about it. It's just a way to get around because they've got 6 Austin 1100s at home and none of them are in complete condition. So the Lanos is a simple device for moving them around.
That's right.
It somehow gets through its MOT after they've spent a weekend bodging some bits of it back together. And so they just keep running it. They don't care about it, so they certainly don't wash it.
My brother thought that there was an abundance of combo vans. Is it the Vauxhall, little Vauxhall vans? But I saw more of the French MPV, the van-based French MPV, because as you know, they get to a certain age and condition where nobody wants them, apart from auto jumble people. And then they swoop in and go, "Oh, you're going to scrap that, are you? Oh, I'll have that."
Yeah,
and they take all.
I'm not sure though. Because I actually think they have a strong currency amongst auto jumble people, but also dog fleece wearers, like people who have more than one dog, of the same sort, because they're really into that sort of dog
rescue charity
and
person. Allotment
people.
We've talked about allotment people before, haven't we?
I think the Kangoo, like the Kangoo van, not the van, but the car version. Because you got your double sliding doors, which not all Berlingos have, and they're pretty cheap. I presume because they're fairly simple, they're not expensive to keep running as long as nothing major goes on the pop. So
they're not. No, they're not. They're not expensive.
I could
certainly
see that,
pre-COVID, they're not.
You could get a couple of engine blocks in the back, no problem at all. It won't even feel it, and you don't really give a shit because it's it's just. They're fairly sort of robust in their sort of weird kind of vanny way.
They are good.
Yeah.
And these are people that don't care about door trim panels not being there. So they're like,
no.
As long as the door shuts and the glass is up, nobody cares. So those are those people. Yeah, there's a lot.
What kind of house would you live in if that's the way you treat your Kangoo van?
I think this is the part where I have to bow out and say I don't want to think about the condition of the houses and the living conditions. It can't bear it. It just starts to make me feel unwell. If you're going to poo in a bag for life and not put it in a bin, not put it in a bin is the bit that offends me more.
If you poo in a bag for life on a drizzly field in Lincolnshire, you probably don't live in a minimalist Scandinavian lake house style grand designs new build.
No, and you don't do much wellness, like self-wellness or whatever you would call it.
Yeah.
You don't do a huge amount. In fact, I forgot the other van-related observation my brother came up with. On the way there, going up the A1. He said, "There's a load." He said, "We've gone past so many." Mercedes Sprinters of that era, where they used to rust in the oddest of places.
Yes.
Like in the middle of the door, not at the bottom or the top, just right, like a bullet hole. Really odd.
But I was thinking about those combo vans that you mentioned. Didn't the original combo vans, weren't they the ones that always got a rusty forehead?
Yeah, yes, they did used to get a rusty forehead from all the stone chips.
Like, why there? I think they just used really shitty metal for that bit of the combo. The sort of carryover bits from a Corsa were pretty well rust-proof, but the van forehead was a shoddy job.
I reckon it was thinner paint. They just put less paint on high up because people weren't paying any attention. So the car body got loads of paint, but the forehead and the scalp just got nothing. It's so true. You're absolutely right. And these vans, Greg said, what they do is they go past you on the motorway. They overtake you slow enough so that it feels like a shadow being cast over you, and you look up from the driver's position as you were, and there's always a dude in the passenger seat, and he's looking back and down at you with such a demeanour in an interrogative way.
There's something quite intimidating about that, isn't it? Getting eyeballed by the passenger in a van.
Because they're so high up, they look down at you and go, "We're going to get you. We're going to have you." And then the van's gone. You never see it again. Nothing's happened.
So well, you might see it again. Just that there's so many of those slightly shabby Sprinters. They're just a kind of fixture. You probably don't even realise you're seeing them until you think
it's too late.
But yeah, every town's got a few shabby Sprinters in it, because
I think
they just bodily they go, but mechanically they don't.
That's exactly,
because they do seem to hang around. But
they're brilliant because they were the five.
They just look shit.
I think they had that glorious 5-cylinder motor in those Sprinters, so mechanically they're amazing. Because that's the drivetrain I always wanted to put in a comma camper van. But yeah, so I think that's probably the really scabby Sprinter is probably the British equivalent of the slightly kidnappy American van in the States.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. The sort of Chevy Astro or whatever it was that just looks a bit suspicious. It's got a little bit of roadside graffiti on it and some bad stickers and dents. It's a bit Buffalo Billy, isn't it? It's always a whiff of Buffalo Bill around that, which I don't. Well, I just don't trust it.
You've painted pictures with words, my friend. I feel like I was at that autojumble without having to actually go to spend a day in a wet field. But what an experience. I'd love to say I'd join you at the next one, but frankly, that's not going to happen. So
why not? Why not, anyway, though? Why not?
But I mean, I would love to, but it's just that's where it's a very long way from where I live.
I'll find one near you.
We'll find another one near me. Maybe I'll go. I do find them fascinating. I love looking at someone's got a tarp laid out on the floor, and then there is like a speedometer from a Mini or something there, and it's like, I don't want or need that, but I like looking at it laid out on a tarpaulin surrounded by other unspecified BLMC bits. That it's just something sort of perversely fascinating about that.
I think it's we all share this. I know I've been mocking the Grand Wizard and the 70s roadie walking around, but there's of course an element of attraction for me there, which is why I went and why my brother goes and why my nephew's into it. We go, you never know what's going to be on the tarp. My brother says sometimes the unlabelled things, which even the person selling it doesn't know, they've done a house clearance and they've sold all the obvious stuff and there's some other bits left. And he said sometimes that's the absolute gold. That's your Antiques Roadshow. Shit me, did you know that's worth 10 grand? And it's normally, in my brother's case, it's a pre-war Bentley, Bosch Magneto that's the numbers matching for a very specific car that if you own it, you couldn't find one of those if you tried. So I suppose that's the hope, isn't it? You're just wandering around and you go, oh look, there's over there. You see that behind that front wing for a Citroen GS. That's the Ark of the Covenant. You never know, do you? It's the never knowing. It's the prospect. The potential. It's the potential that's there. You think, at least. It's sifting for gold. You have to sift a load of detritus before you can find any shimmer of gold. And that's.
But as you discovered, you may also accidentally sift a bag of human feces, which is
but if you enjoy the journey if you enjoy the journey and you're flicking through a couple of old copies of Knave while you're there, then happy days. But I think what I should have done at the beginning of this conversation about the autojumble is the original deal was, because my brother booked his stand about 2 months ago. He knows that I've got lots of hoarded stuff that I need to sell and get rid of since moving house. And he was trying to help me, bless him, because he said, well, look, if I stick a stake in the sand and say we're going then to the autojumble, I'll bring a trailer or a van. You just gather all your stuff together and we'll load it up. Well, that's all great if Johnny's not got his head in his bum and hasn't booked a load of shoots to do all of the week running up to it, but back to back, which I did, and basically just was a complete lame ass and didn't even open my garage door. So I've got to. The moral to the story is I have to go back, because I'm going to be laying out my own wares on my own tarp.
Well, yeah, you've got all that 70s pornography to get rid of.
Yeah, I've got a huge amount, absolutely huge amount. So, yeah, there'll be a combination of Volkswagen and American car parts, and there'll be some 70s skin mags as well. So, yeah.
There's something to look forward to. Well, I can't really top any of this, and so I think we should probably just bring this all very gently to a halt. But before we go, I have 3 things to tell you. They are: 1, Johnny has a solo YouTube channel. It's called The Commemorate Lake Show, in which he presents needless tributes to the host of a 90s American talk show. This week he's pointlessly cheerleading Ricky's focus on skin problems. If that's not to your taste, there's always The Late Break Show, which has got lots of excellent videos about cars and people who love them. 911 Dakar, an ill man drives a rallycross track in an excellent new Porsche. It's a good watch. Beautiful looking film. I watched that. I usually watch YouTube on my phone and my computer, as I suppose most people do, but I realised I can get YouTube on my big telly, so I put it on the big telly, and it looked lovely on the big telly. Oh,
thank you, Richard. I'm quite pleased with that edit. And actually, by the time people listen to this, there'll be a Gordon Murray T33 Spider walk around. Gordon also, although nobody's going to drive the T33 for a little while, I said to Gordon, can you take me out in one of your own convertibles, one of your old ones? And he went, yeah, sure. So we go out for a little tickle in a 60s Alpha drop top that he's got, and he wore gloves and a thick hat because it was cold, and me, balding guy here, completely forgot his own hat. So the guy with lots of hair, Gordon, has hat. The guy with not as much hair, me, has no head protection at all. But nevertheless, it was fun. Okay. It was really good. Really good.
Again, behind the scenes at the Late Break Show, watch the Gordon Murray video to see if you can sense how cold Johnny's head is.
Honestly, Gordon was a sweet, sweet guy.
Sweet guy.
Lovely.
Still not sure if he hates the Volvo 760 to this day, but we live in hope we'll find out. All right, well, second thing I've got to tell you is we have merch. We have Spouts T-shirts and mugs. We have...
on that side of things, T-shirts and mugs. We have It'll Do This All Day mugs, T-shirts coming soon, we hope. Steam Rally Rongan inspired material,
yeah. It's a lovely mug, that lovely design.
Do you know, that's
a static engine on it.
That is our most popular mug, our most popular Smith and Sniff mug, and which is strange because I thought that it might be a bit of a niche gamble, that one, but actually that is our best seller.
People seem to like it. You can have that on a sticker as well, and some other stickers. You can just have a Smith and Sniff logo. Things we're working on, getting that Steam Rally Rongan design put onto a T-shirt. It's just quite fiddly because it's a bit intricate to print. And also we will at some point do some stickers that you can put on the inside of glass, so you can have them on your car without them getting wet. The ones we've got do hold up quite well to be put on the outside of a car. They are good stickers.
We have a small range of stickers, as in they're smaller than the other. So we have a smaller dimension sticker. So if you've got a nice sports car or a tasteful machine, you don't want to put an overtly large sticker on there. There's some cheeky little ones, which just as a little hat tip to either you listen to two guys talk about Steam Rally Rogans, or you just want to You just want to put it on a beautiful bodied car without interrupting the expanse of glass too much around it. So, yeah, those are available. We've done quite a hard sell on the merch this time, Richard, I feel.
For once.
Yeah, for what I was going to say.
Go to smithandsniff.com/merch, and that'll give you a link to all of the good stuff. But yes, please, if you are so inclined, go and buy a T-shirt, what with the weather getting nicer, or a mug, because who doesn't like mugs? Or stickers, because everybody likes stickers.
They do.
That's the merch shop. The third thing, this podcast is coming out on Easter Monday, so the third thing I've got to do is that Easter eggs were invented in Bristol.
Were they?
Well, I mean, the hollow chocolate Easter egg was invented in Bristol. Is more specifically Fry's chocolate.
Oh yeah, Fry's. They were Bristolian, of course they were.
Yeah, so they were the first to figure out how to make a hollow chocolate Easter egg, and then everyone else followed suit. But yeah, Fry's of Bristol were the first ones to nail that, and now it's become an Easter tradition.
I love it when you furnish me with this sort of information, especially when it's not.
So you can go out into the world and you can tell somebody else that, and
I can, and also
and they'll go, "Wow, that's almost interesting, Johnny. Thanks."
I like it when it's not car related because it distances us from the point of this podcast even more. That's what I like.
I think we drift away from the point of this podcast quite a lot, frankly. On that note, though, on the trivia note, thank you to everybody who's been in touch. After last week, I did a little shout out saying I'm doing boring car trivia for the next book in the series, and if anyone's got any tips for great trivia, drop us a line. Loads of people did, with some absolute corkers. I'll do a full rundown of thanks next week or something, but yeah, I had loads and loads of emails to hello@smithandsniff.com. The police still exist. I'm still writing the book, so if you have got anything in the back of your mind where you think, hang on a minute, didn't the Ferrari Enzo use the same brake pedal as the Vauxhall Adam or something, then drop me a line. I will double check all of this. But if you've got anything at all, even just a vaguely remembered hint, then it's always useful. So hello@smithandsniff.com for your boring car trivia tips would be smashing. Or anything else that you want to tell us.
And this goes without saying, thanks to everyone who is a Patreon of the Smith and Sniff podcast.
Oh, yes.
You Patreon people are the gift that keeps on giving. Well, I mean, literally,
yes.
But also because you do actually support us. But you're also very funny and astute. And I like that about you.
Yes, our patrons are good. It's £1 a month. You can give us more, you don't have to. But yeah, patreon.com/Smith and Sniff. And for that, you get the podcast a little bit early, and you get a thing called show notes. And there's also the Smith and Sniff Encyclopedia on there, which is loads of explanations of in-jokes and when they first appeared on the show, and it's got all of those stupid Johnny's fake YouTube channels that I do. I update that regularly with all of them, so there's a full list of those on there and all it. Right, that's enough. We're hawking now.
Yeah,
I just feel like
we're still on the doorstep. They've pushed the door too, but we're still trying to sell stuff.
We're going, honestly. 3 for 2 on 70s Grot Mags. Okay, well, thank you ever so much for listening, and we will do this all again next week. But until then, goodbye.
Bye, guys.
You know just what to do. Like and subscribe and review. You know just what to do. Like and subscribe and review. You know just what to do. Like and subscribe.
Sweet Easter eggs from Bristol.
Off of Fry's. I love you guys. Fry's.
Turkish delight. Acquired taste.
Yes.
Sweet
crushed roses with pig's knees. Lovely.
Happy Easter. Here's your pig knee and rose jelly.
That's what it is, though.